Everyone, and welcome back to my channel. In this week's sewing class we're gonna make a really easy dress because it is a dress out of just two parts. So not difficult to make, not difficult to make the pattern, not difficult to sew. And I'm gonna make it out of a jersey, and a jersey is a knit fabric that is very stretchy, usually 2 ways or 4 ways stretchy. It doesn't matter for this tutorial. And I have a cream white one with some pink and purple graphic flowers on top. I don't know if you can see it because it's very bright, but I'll show you a clip later on of my fabric. It's a really nice fabric. The flowers are very nice. It's overall white that, as you know, I like very much. So it's a very easy tutorial today, but I will ask you to watch at the end how it looks like, but also the styling tips that I give, because it is a very easy dress to make, but it's very versatile to wear, and you can really wear it to any occasion because you can dress it up very easily to a nicer dress, and you can just leave it plain for a dress for every day. But it's a really nice piece to have in your closet because I will show you what you can do with it, but with just one dress. And because of the jersey, it wears very nicely. It's forgiving in any way, in wearing, in sewing or whatever. You can make it very easily. I will give some other options to do it else, because I always like to give it some just a little bit more, but you don't have to do it. You can just make it very easily. And if you like easy tutorials, the dress that I'm wearing now is also a very easy one. It's just made out of rectangles, and it has a handkerchief hem. That means a hem that's going up and down, and it's very nice and flowy, but very easy to make, and you hardly need any pattern because it's just rectangles, so you just have to measure your rectangles out. So if you like it, I will link it up here and down in the description box, and I'll show you now how to make this dress. And if you like my videos, please subscribe if you haven't done already. If you have already, thank you so much. We are a nice growing sewing family, and it's nice to help each other out in the comment section. If you have questions or anything to ask, just leave them down below. I will get back to you as soon as I can. The problem is YouTube doesn't always give me notifications when you put a comment on there. So sometimes I don't know that you gave a comment. So if I don't reply the next day, then please send me a DM on Instagram that I can help you out if you have a question. So I'll show you now the rest of the dress. And to give you a better look of my fabric, it has those really funny pink and purple flowers on them. And so, as I said, it is a jersey, so it is knitted fabric. And that means it has stretch this way, and in this case also this way. Sometimes it's just 2-way stretch, but it's a very nice and comfortable fabric. And also mine is a jersey out of cotton. So the dress that we're gonna make, and for the new viewers, yes, I know that I cannot draw at all, but it's just a reminder of how I want to make things, and that is this drawing for, and to show you how we're gonna make it just about. So it's just a front and a back piece, and what we do is we make oh, what's it called in English? I don't know. Just a rounded neck hole in the front, of course higher on the back. And what we do is we want to make some cap sleeves, but we're gonna cut them onto the front part. So not sewing it on, but it's just a more elongated shoulder seam that we're gonna make, so that you have a cap sleeve over your shoulder and over the top of your upper arm, going into the armhole. And then I'll make mine just going into the waist and then going out. If you like, you can also make it more straight on, then it's not that fitted, that you can put a belt on. I draw a belt, but you can do without if you make your dress fitted, or if you just like a loose fit. So you can make it as wide or as tight as you like. And that's it. That's all how it's gonna look. The cap sleeves makes the nice look, how it will look. Your fabric will give a nice outcome, so make sure you find a nice fabric that you like. As I said, I make mine out of jersey. That means that I can make it rather fitted with my pattern. But if you don't have a stretchy fabric, then make sure you have enough width here, because we don't have a zipper, we don't have any closure, so you must be able to get in. So then give it enough width here, and also for the neck hole, give it enough width that you can get your head through. So if you like it more higher here in the front, that's okay, but then just try before you get into the sewing that you can go in there. So back is the same, just a higher neckline. Sleeves are the same. So pretty simple, but you will see it will look very nice. And when you take another fabric, you can use the same easy pattern with the easy sewing and you have a totally different dress. And that's the nice thing of sewing yourself. For the pattern, as always, you take your basic pattern and you put it on top of a new piece of paper. You trace out your neckline, your shoulder seam, and of course you align them here at the side. Then what you do is you make your shoulder longer. So you elongate your seam with around, I broke my ruler, so I really have to measure very difficult. It is 5 centimeters. So I made my shoulder, I extended my shoulder with 5 centimeters and then a bit going down. You see that this is a straight line here, but this is going down. And now that I laid it down, I thought, well, maybe I would like it a little bit more. So instead of just elongated with 5 centimeters, I'm gonna give it another centimeter. And then you take it down to where your armhole is. So you trace your normal armhole and you mark just about a few centimeters below the end of your armhole. You're going down to that seam. So this one is going away. I make it like that. Then I have more of a cap around my shoulder and on the top of my upper arm. The bottom of your armhole will be the same. I just made mine a little bit higher because mine is just about good that you don't look into my dress. And when you put a sleeve on, that's not a problem. But when you are sleeveless here down the bottom, you may have to risk that you see into your dress and you see your bra, and I don't like that. So I just put it just 1 centimeter up. And then I took my side seam and I just made it a little bit wider than my basic pattern is. It's not even a centimeter, going down to the waist. And then from the waist down I want it to go out. So I measured how long I want my dress to be. And I made mine 110 centimeters, if I have that right. And on that bottom, on the hem, I want to have as much as fabric as I can. So because I want the front and the back part to sit next to each other on my fabric, I can put them on my fabric both because I have a rather small size. And it means that the maximum that I can get when I want them together next to each other is 37 centimeters for half my front and half my back. So that is 75 for the whole front and the whole back. So I measured that out at 37 centimeters here. And then I just took a ruler and made the line from the waist going all the way out in a straight line to the bottom of the hem. And the only thing that I did is I curved the hem up a bit because it is a rather wide hem. It looks nice when you give the edge of your hem just a little bit going upwards. So the ruler is a bit too much, but you give just a little bit going up compared to where the mid of your pattern is. So that is for the outer part. The front, but the mid part is of course simple. For the back it will be just your basic pattern. And for the front I measured how low I want my curve of the front neck hole to be. And I made mine 20 centimeters deep. And then make a nice curve going up to the edge of your shoulder seam. So I have to cut off this piece of extra paper that I glued on, that I taped on, because I want my shoulder a little bit more going over my arm. And then my pattern is finished. Difficult to cut in the wrong direction. Come on. So this is what my pattern looks like now. So pretty simple. You just need a front and a back part. You put them on the fold on the fabric. Then you have two parts and we're gonna sew them together. Oh, and if you want your dress not too tight in the waist or in the upper part, I have a jersey, so mine will stretch enough. But if you don't have a jersey, or if you don't like when this is too tight, then you just add a little bit more to the top part of your dress. Then you just add here a few centimeters if you like, or just going straight down. That's possible too. Then it's not that fitted on the top part of your dress. And when you want to cut 2 pattern pieces on the fold, you just open up your fabric and then put both selvages to the middle. So I have the selvage of one side here, and here is the other selvage, and that means that I have a fold here and I have a fold there. And then you can just put your 2 patterns next to each other on the fold, and it's a very easy way to do it. So I will cut my pattern out, the other one on the other side, and then we can start sewing. So I'm working with a jersey, and that means that I use a zigzag stitch or straight stitch to make my seams, and I will do mostly things on my serger because that is more handy. But when you do it on your normal sewing machine, just use a zigzag stitch or a straight stitch to use your stitching. Certainly use a jersey needle because you need it, and if you have a sewing machine where you can put the settings on a stretchy fabric, also use that, because it just makes life easier for you when you do that. And now what we do first, before we're going to sew it together, we're going to make reinforcement stitchings here where the armhole goes into the cap sleeve. And we do that on all 4 of the sleeves, and I will zoom you in to show you where to do that and the reason why. I hope you can see that I made a mark here, a line, where you do your reinforcement stitching. And we do that because I want this corner to be sharp like it is now when I hem the sleeve and the armhole. And because this is a straight corner, you cannot just fold it in, because then you get it rounded out. Of course you can do that too. When you just cut this round, then you can just make a round edge. But I like it when it's really a straight corner. So I'm gonna make a small stitch here. So make a small short setting of your normal stitch, and you make a stitching here in that same corner as the edge of your fabric is. And it doesn't have to be long, just 1 centimeter here, 1 centimeter here. And that is because when we're gonna hem these parts, you're gonna cut it in to that reinforcement stitching, and then your fabric won't tear open here at the corner, and then still you can make a really sharp corner because you can cut it in here. So make this reinforcement stitching on all 4 sleeves already now, because now it's easy. Now you have just loose parts, and later on it will be connected and you have a lot of fabric, and then it's more difficult to do. So we'll do that first. Now you put your front part on top of your back part, right sides together of course. And then we're gonna sew the shoulder seams, those 2, and both side seams. So then we have 2 parts connected to each other. Finish all the edges, and what you do, because you have to make a snip now to that reinforcement stitching, as you see here. I just made a snip exactly in that corner, to that corner, and that make sure you don't snip through the flats, because then it doesn't work out the way you put the stitching for. And then you can just fold your seam allowance in, and then you see, well, my pin is just in place, you see that you get a really nice corner here now. Just because of the snip, it can open, the seam allowance can open up a bit, and then you have a nicer finish than when you don't do it. Or you should just cut this more round, then you can just round it out. So we're gonna seam all the armholes, the neck hole, the hemline I'll do later because I want to do something different there. And you have a few options. You can just fold the seam allowance in and pin it, and then do just a zigzag stitch. Then you have a nicely finished outside, you see the zigzag there, and the inside is also finished because you have a zigzag here. So that's a very easy way to finish it. What you also can do, what I will do, is I will use a twin needle. I don't know if you can see it. It is 2 needles connected. And you can just put them in your sewing machine as a normal needle is. The only thing is you need 2 cones of thread because you need 2 threads going through each needle. And then what you get when you use that, then you get 2 straight stitches on the right side. You sew it on the right side also, not on the wrong side. So 2 straight stitches here, and the back side, the wrong side, has a zigzag. So your outside is nicely finished with 2 straight stitches, and your inside has a nice zigzag. This, of course, this jersey won't fray, but you want your seam allowance to be nicely finished, and that zigzag is okay. You can also trim off the excess, also when you do just a zigzag, trim off the excess that is outside your zigzag, that looks more nice from the inside. So I'm going to do it that way. What you also can do, especially here for the neck hole, is you can put a facing on. Then you don't have a 2-part dress, but a 3-part dress, or 4 even, because then you have to cut out an extra piece of fabric in the shape of your neck hole, front and back, sew them on the side seams, and then you sew that on right sides together, flip it over to the wrong side, and top stitch that down, and finish the edge of your facing with a zigzag stitch. You can do that too. It's a very nice finish, but I want to do it simple now because this is an easy dress. So I'm going to do it like this, and then I will show you what we'll do with the hemline, because you can also hem it normally just by folding it in, give it a zigzag, or just folding it in double and top stitch it, but I will do something else. And I often hear people saying when sewing with a twin needle, it doesn't give a nice result. The 2 stitchings will bunch up, so that gets a bump in between. If you have that problem too, then you should lower the tension of your lower thread, so of the bobbin, because that can be the problem. I normally never have that problem, but I found out in a former video why everyone was complaining. So if you have that, lower the tension of your bobbin thread. For the hem, I want to make a lattice hem, and it is something like this. I always make a try on a piece, a scrap of the fabric, because every fabric acts differently, to see if it goes well and how it acts on this kind of fabric. Of course, you can also just do a normal hem by folding it in a centimeter, folding it in another centimeter, and top stitch it, or do it same as the armhole and the neck hole that you did. That's okay too, but I'd like to give it a little bit different because it's a rather simple dress. I always like to give it just a little touch somewhere. So that will be the hem now. So what a lattice hem is it is a very tight zigzag stitch, and you stretch the fabric so that you get these curves. And this one was not really okay, so this part is not right, but you see that it gives, I don't know why it's called a lattice hem, but it gives these waves, let's call it like that. And how you do it is you fold in your fabric to the one side. I usually also sew it on the wrong side, but you can also do it on the right side, whatever you like. But I like to see my folded in hem. So you fold it in around 1/2 centimeter, and you put the settings of your sewing machine. I put them on the width of my zigzag stitch, half that the maximum is. So mine goes up to 6, and I put it on 3. And I put the length of my zigzag stitch at 0.5, so the smallest setting. So the width of the zigzag is half as much as I can, so 3, and the length is as short as I can. And then you get a very tight zigzag stitch. Sometimes you can also take less than 3, but now for this fabric I needed that to get a nice edge. And then when you put it under the pressure foot, you hold it, if the pressure foot is here, you put it tight here on the one side of the pressure foot, and you hold it tight on the other side, and you really stretch your fabric out. And this is a jersey, so it stretches a lot. You stretch it as much as you can, and then you let it go under the pressure foot, but you don't pull it under the pressure foot, you don't push it, you just keep your fabric stretched out and let the pressure foot feed the fabric in. So don't give it, just let the pressure foot do its thing, and the only thing you do is you stretch your fabric out, and then you get this really nice ruffled effect. And practice it first on a scrap that you have left to feel how to do it. It's really not that difficult, but just get the feeling of how to do it. And that is how I will make my hem. Afterwards, of course, cut off the seam allowance excess, because this doesn't look nice, I think. So cut it off as close to your zigzag stitch as you can, and then your hem is nicely finished, and it's something else. You saw that a few years ago a lot on tops, on the bottom of the tops, especially crop tops, but I think also on the hemline it's really nice. I think I've done it before on my channel, I'm not sure, but I've done this kind of hemming a lot of times, and it looks really nice. Dress by itself, just plain but very nice. I think looks very nice, very forgiving. It has its width on the skirt, so it doesn't cling on you. I put a belt on because I like that more on my body type, but I made it that I also can wear it like this, just plain on. It's fitted but not really tight here, but I like it more with a belt. But of course, if you like it more without, then certainly do it without, because it's very comfortable to wear, very nice. I made the lettuce hem with that ruffle part just to give it a little bit more, but of course you can just sew it normally, just with a zigzag stitch, simple, or just folding it in twice and top stitch it. But the lettuce hem is really nice, I think. It gives it just a little bit more, and I like the flowiness of it, and I really like this dress. This is really a dress you can wear every day, whatever you have to do. It's very nice. I like the cap sleeves because it gives a little bit more coverage over your shoulders and over your arms. You can make them a little bit longer if you like. What I didn't really like is how low this went, because normally I like it more higher, but I forgot that with this long dress of jersey it will be heavy, well not heavy, but heavier of fabric hanging down, and then also your neckline will go a little bit lower, and to my taste it's a bit too low, but I think it's still flattering, but I just like it when it's more high up here. But anyway, I really like the outcome of this dress. I think it's really flattering, really nice, and I want to show you how I would style it, because I already had in mind some pieces of my clothing that I really like to pair with this dress. So I'll show you part one. Because while sewing I already had this cardigan in mind, and I think this looks so nice compared with the pink flowers on the dress, on the fabric. This long cardigan that is just very plain, also very normal, simple pattern, but compared to the dress I think it's so nice. And I put my pearled mules on, and I think you can really go to a garden party or barbecue or some kind of event that asks for just a little bit more dressed up than your casual normal day of clothing. And I think this is really my favorite outfit with this dress. Although I like it plain, I really like it with this long cardigan. I think it looks so beautiful and so put together, and it's just my favorite. So I have some more to show you, so I'll show you tip number 2. And what you also can do, maybe when it's in the evening and it gets a little bit chilly but you don't want to put a really knit cardigan on top of it, just take a lace blouse and knot it in the waist, and then you have a really nice vest on top of it that is not taking away the dress too much, but still gives you a bit of coverage on the top, and also make it more nice, maybe more dressed up again, with just a lace part on top of it. And also like this very much. This dress is really so versatile. You can do whatever you like with it. Whatever you put on, it's always good. You can match it with white, you can match it with the pink, with the purple. I put some pink mules on it, I don't know if you can see it, but that also takes it together, and you have a really nice outfit like this. And I have one more, of course, for the working women. I always try to put one styling tip on, in that, and I'll show you how that looks. And then for a more business look, put on a blazer, match your belt to the color of your blazer and to one of the flowers on your dress, put some matching heels on, and I think it looks very business appropriate, because you have your blazer on, you're nicely covered. I think this is a bit too low to my taste, so I would put a scarf or something on top of it, or preferably make your dress a bit higher, because for my taste this is really too low, especially for the office. I don't think it's appropriate, but maybe you have another taste and you are allowed to go like this. But I think with a blazer, it's just adding a blazer, just the only difference, and it looks totally different, but so nice. So I'm really happy with this dress. It's so simple and so easy to wear, but still you have a very versatile piece to wear for any occasion. So I hope you liked this tutorial. If you have any questions, as I said before, leave them down below. I'll get back as soon as I can, or otherwise send me a DM if you don't hear from me. And I'll see you again next week with a new sewing class. Please subscribe if you haven't done already. And please share and like, that others can see this video too. And thank you so much for watching again, and I'll see you again next week. Bye.